James Carville was recently on cable news to talk about how he finds the state of the Democratic Party a complete and utter disaster. In fact, he's pretty panicky about it, and he explains why. Take a look.
Best case scenario for us, what states are in play? And do you fear if Sanders is our nominee, we're kind of down to a no margin for error race?
Okay, David, so let's Sanders our nominee. I'm going to vote for him, all right? And he is, and Speaker holds on to the House. Of course, we don't pick up the Senate. You know what's going to change? Nothing. Bernie Sanders president, Mitch McConnell's majority leader, the Republican control the federal courts. Come on, people, we got to have a big election here. We got to take the Senate back, and we should be able to do it. But we got to get relevant. And this is all something that is not working the way that it needs to work. And these candidates have got to develop some skill. And I don't criticize other people, other consultants, but some of this stuff they come up with is like insane. I don't know who thinks of this stuff.
So I agree with him about the Senate. I think that it's weird because in that same sentence or statement, he seems to have this like defeatist outlook on the Senate or the opportunity for the Democrats to take charge or hold of the Senate. I don't think that it's a lost cause. I think that if they campaign correctly and they focus on vulnerable Republican lawmakers who just voted to acquit Donald Trump and cover up his crimes, they could take back the Senate. So I agree with him on that. But you know, the whole thing about if Sanders wins the nomination, no, we can't even have no margin of error, no margin of error. We got to be super careful. It's interesting how they have such a different perspective on Sanders and his ability to beat Trump.
I mean, like I don't understand how James Carville claims to be so politically aware and well-versed. Like he's been in politics for a while. I would love to say like, hey, this is an elder we should look forward to wisdom. But like Fox News and the conservatives are realizing this, that, oh wait, of all of these like lukewarm Democrats, Bernie Sanders might have some juice to him. Like we had the thing where Trump was kind of freaked out with him.
Yeah.
We've had, he's done not that many, I think he should do more, but he did a couple of town halls on Fox News very early on in the campaign.
True.
And the hosts on there were kind of like, wait, no, the crowd's cheering too loudly. Like, what's going on? Like, and like, this is something that you can, it's a little bit harder to read through all the news and sift through it, but like if you look there, like even the thing with he who shall not be named Joe Rogan, like it's clear that Bernie has this uncanny, unique ability to appeal to people on the right in a way that James Carville seems to be wanting to happen with the Democrats, because he's worried that, and his entire class of people are worried that we're not going to win with moderates. When give Bernie a chance, try looking at this. It's like kind of right, clear for you.
So I just want to elaborate on two things that you mentioned, because you're right. So Trump was on tape talking about how he was relieved that Hillary Clinton didn't choose Sanders as his running mate, because had she chosen Sanders, that would have been an incredibly tough race for Trump. And then he talked about how Bernie's right on trade and all this stuff. So that's on tape, you can listen to it. Secondly, Bernie Sanders does incredibly well with independent voters. So we got some polling out of Iowa, for instance, that showed that among all of the Democratic candidates, he polled the best with independent voters. Yep. You want to attract the independent voters, right, to beat Trump. So that's one other measure that you can look at. It's just interesting because I don't know if it's groupthink or if they're just denying the truth. Like they know the truth, but they're rejecting it. So in this next clip, Carville explains why he's scared to death.
Why do I think people are disgusted with Democrats? We had the highest turnout in 2018 since women were granted the right to vote. We had the biggest margin. We ran a smart campaign and it worked, all right? It matters who the candidate is. It matters what a party chooses to talk about. I mean, I'm 75 years old. Why am I here doing this? Because I am scared to death, that's why. And we gotta let's get relevant here, people, for sure.
All right, so I'm super curious.
This is what I want to say. Like, why are you still here, James Carville, doing this? You're like Tales from the Southern Crypt, man. Like, you're done. Like, stop. You're here because your party's been losing ground for many, many, many years. And maybe with strategists like you, we don't we're losing. So, and the reason that 2018 was such a banner year was because you had more people of color and women running for office with bold, progressive ideas like Medicare for all, like a Green New Deal, like reforming the criminal justice system, like actually having former felons vote. You had amazingly progressive ballot measures. Okay, stop resisting the winds of change, man. Sit this one out. Like, this is not for you. I don't know why you're still here. You're trying to remain relevant. That's my thing, is like, these people are trying to remain relevant. Everyone's trying to find out how they can still get money from the Democratic Party or from a news outlet for speaking about the Democratic Party. And here's the other thing that I love. He's talking about he's so scared of Bernie and how he doesn't want, he said something like he doesn't want the party to be turned into an ideological cult, is what James Carville said. Man, the status quo is also an ideology. Let's not forget.
And I would argue that that's far more cultish than any other aspect of the Democratic Party, especially when you have members of the establishment literally voting against what Democrats are supposed to stand for, voting along with Donald Trump on inflating the military budget, voting along with Donald Trump when it comes to his rebranding of NAFTA, voting along with Donald Trump when it comes to a host of other issues, including tax cuts for the wealthy, right? So are we supposed to just excuse that behavior because they're part of the Democratic establishment? And if they identify as Democrats, you support them no matter what? That's crazy.
I love also there's a lot of like, oh, well, I'll vote for him, but not before I trash all of Bernie Sanders' ideas, his supporters, as they're all trolls, they're all hateful, but then I'll vote for him. Oh, no, please. We could actually use you to sitting this one out. If all you're going to do is trash and then be like, well, I'll vote for him. Look, 1.4 million individual donors. That's how many donors Bernie Sanders currently has. We've seen those maps. The New York Times had another one recently. They have to have separate maps to just show you how broad Bernie Sanders' support is. And Anna mentioned independence, super important. Now, what happens when we talk about independence? We somehow think that these guys are like walking and right down the middle of the road.
They're not.
They're just moderate middle road walkers. No, they're people who are disgusted and disillusioned with the two-party system, with politics as usual.
Yes.
They're mostly to the left of the Democratic Party, or they have, views that sort of shift back and forth. They don't trust people, they don't believe in anyone. And getting those people to the ballot box is hugely important. So I'm sick of this, again, the game theory around Democrats and how we're so scared. Get out the vote.
Yes.
Get people to the ballot box. Have someone believe in someone. Look, open your eyes and see what's happening around you. There is a groundswell of movement. There are people who've never been interested in politics. Hello, young people in Iowa came out in record numbers for Bernie Sanders. Stop pretending like you don't see that.
Every movement has naysayers, and I'm sorry that James Carville has to be on the naysayer side of history on this one.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was gonna skip the next video, but your commentary was so good that I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about the next clip. So just one more clip featuring James Carville.
I just love you.
I love you too, and your analysis. If you look at the press corps went AOC crazy in the Iowa caucuses of liberal, it's too whatever, to combine the left side of the party. And I don't consider myself a liberal, by the way. I'm not a moderate, but they look, Senator Klobuchar and Buttigieg got a lot of votes. And we got to decide what we want to be. Do we want to be an ideological cult, or do we want to have a majoritarian instinct to be a majority party? I know where you stand on that, Senator, because you had to run in a red state.
Right.
So, and again, you and I know that 18% of the country elects 52 senators. And the urban core is not going to get it done. What we need is power. You understand? That's what this is about. Without power, you have nothing. You just have talking points.
So let's ask Claire McCaskill, who lost her re-election bid because of her lame campaign, what she thinks about all this. She loves Carville because Carville preaches what she actually took in as advice and then lost as a result of it. So you want to talk about power. The one thing that has always differentiated Bernie Sanders from all the other candidates. Look, Elizabeth Warren has great policy proposals, okay? Elizabeth Warren, I think, has progressive proposals that she should be proud of, and I think that there should be collaboration. If Bernie Sanders wins the nomination, he becomes president. However, the difference is Bernie Sanders understands power. He understands power, and he understands that power needs to be shifted from the elite to the people. He's all about pushing for an agenda that utilizes the power of the people to get the policy accomplished.
Yes.
And people don't get that. They either don't understand it or they do understand it and they don't like it.
And Barack Obama is a perfect example of that because Barack Obama did rely on people power to get elected. We all know people who made calls for Obama. He was hugely galvanizing and politicizing for a lot of young folks coming of age. Maybe it was their first, second election, whatever. And what happened? When he got into power, he stopped using that people power. He stopped reaching out to the grassroots and said, I got it from here.
Right.
And he swapped that people power with people from Citibank and the other industries that he was supposed to be fighting against.
Right, and it's part of the reason we didn't get that single payer option as part of the Affordable Care Act. And had he understood where real power comes from outside as well as inside the political system, but not negating and shunting that outside political power and that outside pressure, maybe his legacy would have been different. He was he had many hurdles. Of course, we're talking about dark money. We're talking about the Republican consensus to completely obstruct him at every point in turn. But again, back to what Anna was saying, not really understanding. I think the establishment Dems are the ones who don't understand power.
Absolutely, and they certainly don't believe in giving that power to the people.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.